everyone, and welcome to our show, Black Enterprise, a guide to operating a Black-owned business. I am your host, Michelle Campbell, and I am so happy to be here again with you in a new year to talk to you about another very exciting topic. The changes in the world over the last 2 years due to COVID-19 have sparked many people to step out on faith and explore the world of entrepreneurship. Even before then, many African Americans have started their own businesses as either a way to supplement their income or to make their business their full-time position. They have identified an opportunity to provide people something that doesn't exist or better address an underserved market, or maybe they just have a passion for something and they want to share it with the world. Many of us have ideas and possibly multi-million-dollar dreams that only if they were pursued, they could literally change their lives and the lives of others. I'm pleased and honored to have this panel here with us this evening. They were successful in breaking out to start their own business, and they continue to thrive years later because they have discovered what it takes to own and operate a successful business. Not everyone is cut out for this job, and I've seen it firsthand with people who have attempts to want the title as entrepreneur, but lack the understanding, focus, business acumen, professionalism, and customer service skills, which we all know are required to actually be successful. So, tonight we will hear from some of the best in their business as they share with us what they did to become a successful business owner. Be sure to ask questions live in the comments via Facebook or YouTube, and I will get to those toward the end of the show. The format of the show will be me asking the panel a series of questions, which will be open to anyone to answer. In some cases, I may have a pointed question to a particular panelist, which will then, I will reference their name when I ask the question. So without further ado, let's meet our successful panel. Kerry Adams is an experienced marketing and advertising professional and a successful entrepreneur. Kerry is the owner and operator of the Detroit Flavor Pack, where he ships the most iconic products from Metro Detroit around the world. In the past 6 years, Detroit Flavor Pack has shipped to every state in the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii, as well as 20 plus countries around the world. Kerry is a native Detroiter and an honors graduate of Detroit Renaissance High School. He spent his undergraduate years at Michigan State University, where he studied advertising and joined Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And I have to say, go green. Kerry has worked with several major brands, including Walmart, Wendy's, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, Domino's, Marriott, and 5 major automotive companies. His passion is brand building and helping small businesses and nonprofit organizations thrive. Let's welcome Kerry to our show. Kimberly D. Brown is the founder of Brown Sugar Designs, a body product and custom gift company. Kim is in Chicago, Illinois, and started Brown Sugar Designs in 2016 when she began making gifts for friends and family. The company started off small and initially sold a variety of custom glasses, bags, and photo prop signs. Over the years, Kim has started other product lines, including a very successful line of body butter called Ash Attack. She has also added other products to her company, such as body scrubs, body oils, and most recently, candles and beauty boxes. Although the company was originally started as a way to relax and make creative gifts for loved ones, it has branched into a business that continues to grow each year. Kim works full-time as a senior program manager at Microsoft and has a degree in electrical engineering, like me, from Florida A&M University and an MBA from the the Illinois Institute of Technology. In her spare time, she likes reading, watching TV, and coming up with new designs for brown sugar designs. Welcome, Kim, to our show. Next up, we have Charles H. Harrell. He is the president of the Information Technology Architect Corporation, DBA, the IT Architect Corporation, ITA. His career started in investment banking at Merrill Lynch, Finner and Price, where he championed the raising of capital for middle market organizations. However, he officially transitioned into the technology industry in May of 2003 as the founder of ITA, a technology and communications firm which specializes in the design, implementation, and management of automation of business processes with innovative IT and communication solutions. His commitment as a business and civic leader is reflected by the following committees and boards for which he sits. As of 2018, he is a corporate member of the Aviation Minority Advisory Council. On September 2011, he was appointed by the FCC to its Diversity Advisory Committee. He is also an active member of the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce on the Information Technology Committee, for which he won an award for Business of the Year. Additionally, he serves on the Minority Business Enterprise Input Committee with the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council as a Supply Chain Integration Committee member, for which he received the May Foster Thompson Minority Business Advocate Award. Other awards he has received include the Chicago Urban League Building Controls Automation Award, Chicago Defender Men of Excellence, and most recent award is the Trailblazer Distinguished Alumni from Michigan State Black Alumni Incorporated. Lastly, he has participated in the U.S. Small Business Administration Contractor Teaming Program, the Universal Service Administrative Company E-rate participant, the internship desk, and the Illinois Institute of Technology Academic Career Education Program as a business mentor participant, the AT&T Business Growth Acceleration Program, Northwestern Kellogg Ascend Advanced Management Education Program, Chicago Urban League Next Construction Program, and most recently, the SBA Emerging Leaders Program, the Capital One Catapult Program, and the Joseph Business School of Business and Entrepreneurship Program. Woo! You are busy, my friend. Charles H. Harrell II graduated from Michigan State University, go green again, with his BA in finance, and received his JD in corporate and tax law from the University of Miami School of Law. Let's welcome Chuck Harrell to the show. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have Carol Johnson, who is a senior paralegal at a major automotive company in Detroit. Mrs. Johnson began her paralegal career over 25 years ago in San Diego, California. She holds a degree in paralegal studies and has over 10 years of experience in corporate law. She has worked for companies such as Allstate Insurance, Rocket Mortgage, and Beaumont Hospital. In 2019, Mrs. Johnson added entrepreneurship to her resume. Mrs. Johnson is the founder and owner of Divine Diva Designs, LLC. Divine Diva Designs offers a range of custom gifts and apparel for every occasion. To promote entrepreneurship in the communities of color, Mrs. Johnson offers consultations and corporate services to help others turn their ideas into successful businesses. Welcome, Carol, to our show. Oh, wow. We have a fantastic panel this evening, and I am just thrilled. And so without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to start with what a question the panel can open up and speak candidly about these questions that I'm about to give. The first one is, what was your motivation to start your business? And anyone can take that.
I'll start. Well, first and foremost, thank you for allowing me to have the opportunity to speak today. And so the answer to your question is this. I was fortunate that my parents were in business. So my father was an auto dealer for General Motors. And so I had that awesome opportunity to work for him for years. I actually washed more cars and sold them, but it was in the business. And so just watching him, watching my mother who taught accounting, it really inspired me to embrace the American dream. It was true freedom. Along with that, another, I'd say, mentor that I had the opportunity to meet was Reginald Lewis. It was a book that my father gave me, and it was Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? And by the way, he was one of your Nuke brothers, which you already know that, Kerry. So, but nevertheless, I'm telling you that's what inspired me, motivated me to go into business.
Great. Anyone else want to take that?
Sure, I'll answer, Michelle. So I actually did not start off thinking that what I was doing was going to be a business. I literally just started making gifts. It was a way, like at Christmas time, to gift my family. I liked being creative. I liked making natural products without all the preservatives. So that's how it started off. And then I would give it out and people were like, this is really good. You should sell it. And I was like, I don't know. And so I literally just sat down. I started thinking about it and I was like, I'll give it a go. I don't have anything to lose. I'm already making the products. And little did I know that it would turn into the business that I have today.
Awesome.
Right. So, like Kim, my business kind of just fell into that. It was my husband and I realized that all of a sudden we were about to be empty nesters, and I'm a person that does not know how to relax. I don't know how to sit and just do nothing. So I was like, what am I going to do? I don't have any kids at home. I don't have. A friend of mine suggested why making stuff. So, taking my things and giving them away. Next thing you know, friends of friends are calling like, hey, I ordered. Where do I buy that? Point, I was like, I could do this and make money. Perfect. So I went ahead and decided to get my LLC and start my website.
Awesome.
Nice. I just to add my 2 cents to the conversation, my dad, just like Chuck, my dad was an entrepreneur. I always saw him before he purchased his building. He was in the house. Actually, he was a dental technician. He made dentures, and he was making dentures in the corner of the house. He had all of his equipment in the house. And then he rented a space, and then he purchased the building next door. So that was the example I had growing up. So by going to traditional university and feeling that, okay, going to an office environment, that's the path that is expected of all of us. I would do pro bono consulting work, helping people with marketing. And then one day I had an idea and said, I think I can do this myself without, a whole lot of overhead. So I kind of did a little bit of research, put it together, and it felt natural because it was the independent environment that I grew up in. So it felt really great.
Wonderful. So you got your business started, and I know it always happens. And I want to hear openly and candidly from each of you, what were your fears about starting your own business?
The primary fear is usually failing. That's the thing that's the barrier for most people, is feeling as if, well, if I start this and fail, then I'm a failure. Trust and believe that most people that started a business that's successful failed at least 10 to 12 times in the past on different endeavors. So you have to get rid of that fear, kind of conquer that fear. Understand that even if you fail at an effort, you're better than someone that didn't try. So you didn't really fail. You're just at the first step of success.
That's a good point. Anyone else want to take that?
Yes, I echo the same comments that Kerry put forth. And, it really started off with, working in corporate America. And, as much as it appears that there's a safety net in corporate America, at least at that time, it paid bills, and so while I worked in that space, I was able to effectively transition. I know that I'll be able to dive in a little deeper into, how I make that transition. But once it was time, I knew it. But that was what allowed me to mitigate that fear, if you will. But along with that, it was my faith. The opposite of fear is faith, and fear being false evidence appearing real, and it is for real, that fear. But through faith, that's what allowed me to take that leap and move forward.
Great.
So I think for me, it was more so, am I really going to have time to do this? I had no intentions on quitting my job. So all this had to fit into those hours where we're not working. And when I started this, I had a travel job. So I used to travel a lot. And so my biggest fear was, if I go ahead and I get set up to do this, am I really going to have the time to commit when orders start coming in? Because people are going to want their stuff.
Good point. Good point. Okay.
And for me, I'd say not only the fear of success, but the fear of competition. There's a lot of people out there that do what I do. And is there enough room in the industry for me? Are there going to be enough customers for everybody? I'm in all kinds of crafting groups, so I see everybody making money doing the same thing. But one day, and it's the people in the store, how many different types of bread do you see on the shelves? It's going to depend on person's needs, what they like, and your customer service.
Okay. Just to let you know, Carol, we're having a little bit of reception issues. It's kind of going in and out. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it, but just FYI. Well, I think we heard the gist of what you were saying. Thank you. And so to segue right into that about competition. So if you could tell me, panel, what do you offer, or what makes your offering different or better than your competition?
For me, there are other companies that distribute similar products, and each individual vendor that I work with, or business partner that I work with, they obviously sell their own goods to people, to the public. What I think I brought to the table with Detroit Flavor Pack is that I'm filling cupboards and not baskets. So I don't send out a fashionable gift basket with one of each individual product. I try to make sure that you can enjoy the products for a period of time and that you can share with others. A lot of my customers are expats, students that are attending school in other states, or even military personnel living abroad. But people from every state that originate or have some kind of connection to Michigan. I send them enough products, so it's something I always say. I fill cupboards and not just satisfy one day itch.
Good point.
And Michelle, I think for me, I won't say that I didn't worry about the competition, but honestly, when I got into this, I was kind of winging it and just doing it. And so for me, what I felt was special about my products and the things that I was doing is that everything was custom. Now I can say later that kind of bites you once you start getting volume. But for me, it was people would call me, hey, Kim, can you do this and make it look like this? Absolutely, no problem. And so I think that was the draw for my products. I don't think that it was, from my perspective, it wasn't so much what do I do better than the competition. I just tried to be me and make something that was special and meaningful for everyone who was trying to purchase.
All right.
Well, yep. Thank you. Wow. My journey associated with identifying I'd say our value proposition. It started off with just kind of jumping into it. So let me step back. What we do with the IT architect is we design, we implement, and we manage the automation of business processes with innovative telecom and technology solutions. Our core business revolves around what they call order fulfillment. I mean, we are a business to business and business to government organization. So we don't per se deal directly with consumers. It's actually businesses and government. And so as we started the business, we partnered with organizations within the telecom space. Initially was Nextel, then it merged with Sprint. We diversified doing business with AT&T and Verizon. So they became a customer, but they also were a strategic partner as we would go to market with them. And so as we work closely with these Fortune 100 companies, we started to understand how they operated. And through that's how we were able to identify a niche in the marketplace associated with these organizations. So with all that said, kind of slowly transitioned into identifying what our value proposition is. And our value proposition is to enhance communication between the telecom carriers and the customer of record. So this is the key professional services. Essentially, we are the functional equivalent of what an Amazon is, but within the B2B, B2G space as relates to telecom companies connecting devices, any device to their network, as these government entities, private sector organizations they acquire these devices. And so we perfected that. And so that's what makes us unique in our respective space. And even more so, when you talk about professional services, that's a space that is generally protected, whether you're an engineer, attorney, architect. I mean, the margins are there, and you have a lot of opportunity to be even creative, innovative. So yeah, that's what makes us different.
Great. Carol, do you want to chime in on this one?
Sorry, I'm trying to make sure my internet is working properly. Yeah, I think I not only offer my products, but offer services to help other people start their businesses. So not only am I offering just, my Divine Diva Designs products, but I also reach out to the youth in Detroit and help them create their own LLCs and help them create their own businesses and help them tap into their own, what they're good at, what they love to do. I volunteer a lot for, I don't know if anybody's heard of Street Law, in coordination with Cast Tech, where we teach youngsters basics about law. So I offer not only my design business, but I try to help others in the community get started in their own businesses.
That's great. That's great. So with any business, there's challenges, there's ups and downs, but for your business in particular, what challenges do you face and how do you overcome them?
So for me, as I said before, my challenge is time, and just that, there's days where I work a full-time job, all day, then I gotta stop, and then I flip into brown sugar mode, and I'm making stuff the rest of the night. So, that's one of my biggest challenges. The other is, and really since COVID, is supplies. So I don't buy supplies in volume. I do a lot of just-in-time ordering. Well, with COVID and even some of the after effects now, the supply chain is totally messed up. And it's hard to get some things, and I have to do a lot more planning for things to make sure that I can get them. Which is not something, when I first started, I didn't really think about ordering. Oh, I want something, I'll order it. It'll be here in a couple days. And it's not like that anymore.
That's a good point. And not just in small businesses, but I can tell you in corporate, the same challenges are faced. And so this is really the whole, since COVID has hit, has been impacting all sorts of businesses. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Not only, with the shipping and having all those ships like docked on the shores and not being able to get the supplies on land and, all of that. I mean, it's happening around the board. So that's a very, very good point that you bring up, that you got to plan ahead and make sure that you can, get that product. Because like you said, you weren't stockpiling things. You were doing it, just in time. So you have to make that adjustment and that shift. Anybody else want to take that question on?
I agree with Kim. That's definitely a barrier. Supplies, especially in this current environment. Manpower is somewhat limited at some times for me. And this is not my only entrepreneurial effort that I'm involved in right now. So it affects me in different ways depending on which effort that we're talking about. But supplies, manpower. Sometimes I wish there were 28 hours in a day, because you still have family, you still have the regular challenges in life, but that customer is not privy to those speed bumps. They're looking for their product. So it takes a lot of effort. I actually saw something in the social media space not too long ago that mentioned, it talked about a person leaving their 9 to 5 so they can go work on their own, and then now they work 20 hours a day, but it's really their own. So there is a labor of love associated with that, but it's going to take you a lot more than 8 hours in a lot of cases to get all your work done, but it's yours, and that's the best part.
And also with the supply shortage, prices shot up. So I had, most of us had to raise our prices according to supply and demand. So to me, that's been a big challenge also.
Hear, hear.
Yep. As it relates to the challenges that I've come across, and again, I'm in that space where it's more services than not. I frame it as access to opportunities. Access to opportunities. When we have stronger access to opportunities, then even the capital will follow you. And so how I've been able to overcome that, those respective challenges in terms of access to opportunities, is to be engaged. We're engaged with the National Minority Supplier Development Council. So we're certified as a quote unquote MBE, and you have to get in the game, at least, as far as I'm concerned. It comes down to people do business with people they like.
That's true.
Right. And so with that, it gives you an opportunity to be in the room, and there's an opportunity for them to see how you think. And then from there, they can say, okay, we know you. So notwithstanding the fact that we as African Americans, we can know people. It's not just who you know, but who knows you. It's also, it revolves around you focusing on excellence. I mean, that's just a given in terms of delivery of your products and services. But yeah, so I've jumped into a number of programs, and the programs that I've participated in. It's more for the relationship building. In a lot of these clients of ours, they have their own respective programs, and these programs, it allows them to get to know us so that we can become a part of their supply chain. And so that's been huge for us. So from doing business with AT&T, they had a growth program, programs where sit on panels to speak on 5G, edge computing, things of that nature. And through that, again, it's just people begin to get to know you. You begin to shine as a subject matter expert in your space. And so that's how set the stage to overcome those issues regarding access to opportunities, because in a heartbeat, somebody will tell you, I don't know you, or you see someone else get the opportunity and you know they're not up to par, but it's because they know them. But we have to do more.
Right. And especially in your space, you're going for, responding to RFPs and getting these big contracts and whatnot. It really is important. And, you used to hear the cliche, it's who you know. No, you said it right. It's who knows you and what are they saying about you? That holds true anywhere. I know that when your back is turned, when people are trying to make decisions, you want your name to be the one that says, I know a person that does this. I know a company that has this. And you have that respect level that you've established with people such that when your back is turned, when you're not, waving the flag saying, hey, here I am, check me out. They're like, I already know who he is. I already know who she is. I'm just going to come and, do business with them. And, oh, by the way, you got to be good too. I mean, and on time and professional and all that. And so I know, I got you guys here. I already know how you all roll. You're very professional, and that's why you're successful. I think that would lead then into the next question I have, and it's about exposure. How do you let the market know that you exist and that you even have a product, this amazing product or service to offer? How do you get your name out there? And how do you, so Chuck, you kind of spoke on it. You sit on boards, you do panel discussions, you take on those opportunities so that they can say, oh yeah, Chuck Burrell, oh, the IT architect. But, elaborate, panel on how do you get your name out there?
I just want to add to that, is this, there's within your space, whatever your space is, there's certifications, not just supplier diversity certifications, I'm like industry certifications. So for example, we took steps to invest in becoming ISO certified. So it's a quality, assurance certification. And it's an international standard. There's audits once a year. Organizations know that the way in which you operate is process driven, it's metric driven. And so we've incorporated that into everything that we do. And what we do, and whether we go after an opportunity as a tier 1 supplier or a tier 2 supplier, we push for, putting forth a quarterly business review, whether they want one or not.
That's good.
And so we set the stage for, our own scorecard. And so it's just very hard. We're like, okay, they've pulled apart the entire process and they're exceeding, expectations, and not only that, but they mapped it against the SLAs. So it's just, so from there, when you get a sign off on that QBR and what have you, you're able to market that. And so we do that as well. And they're like, wow, your customers are not just saying you're great. You are great based on this QBR that's been outlined here.
So, it sounds like, Chuck, because you're using a lot of the lingo that we use in corporate, SLAs, QBRs, and all of that. You incorporated a lot of what you learned in corporate America and translated that into your own business, because that worked for those companies. I know, me coming from a Fortune 100 company that was about quality system reviews and Six Sigma and all of that. And, just anything that you can grasp and learn, even in that corporate environment, and being able to transfer that over into your business, be it large or small, I think it's important. So, for those that are still out there in corporate, gain as much information as you can while you're there, because as you can hear from Chuck, he's taking a lot of those processes that he's talking about. They do that in corporate QBRs, quality business reviews, SLAs, service level agreements, and all of those type of things are in place, even for his small business, which is, that's impressive. I know people are probably, when you stack your small business next to others who may not have had that experience, maybe they're coming fresh and saying, I'm going to start a business and I want to do some things. Well, you've had that corporate kind of exposure and learning curve, so that when you went and said, I'm going to do my own business, you already knew what to do. You already knew the words, the processes, the way to implement things. And so that's another thing that I want people to remember. If you're in corporate or you're in any kind of industry today, get that knowledge, because it will be transferable. I don't care what you're doing, whether you're selling a keychain or you're selling IT architect services. I mean, it all matters. So I'm not going to keep talking. I want my panel to talk. So next, who's next?
Can you hear me, Michelle?
Next. Oh, Carol, you going?
So a lot of mine is word of mouth, Facebook, Instagram. But let me tell you one thing I did learn recently is that I'm old. I see all of these youngsters. So this year I'm taking time to also kind of reinvent me and my business. I see all of these young people, on TikTok, on Reels, on this and on that. And I didn't realize how much business you could gain by doing these little small videos, and they don't even really have to be about your business. They're just to get the notoriety and recognition, and for people to be able to, put your face with a name and with a business. So I say a lot of it is word of mouth, but social media is a big one. And you also kind of have to make a conscious decision on supporting Black-owned businesses and people I try to consciously, if I'm about to buy a product, think of who in my network I can get that from before I go outside of the network to purchase. So like you said, it's good when people know who to call for a product.
That's right. Very, very good points.
So like Carol, I am old. And so I am, I'm a one-woman shop too. So I have to do the advertising, I have to do the finances, I have to create the recipes for my products, I have to do the marketing, all of that. So for me, advertising is a little tricky, and for two reasons. A, just from a time standpoint, and I have had to learn, how to use Canva to do posts on social media and things like that. But the other thing for me is I meter my advertising just a bit, because in some ways, if I get a large influx of orders, I may not be able to really handle them like I would want to. So I tend to be more conservative with a lot of my advertising. I get a lot of business word of mouth. Mm-hmm. And literally, I haven't done any social media posts for about a month, but the business, I'm still getting orders. And the reason is people like the products. I give out a lot of samples. I give stuff away. People tell their friends. Their friends are like, I love it. I want to order it. And so what I would say to people is, if you have a good product, start with a good product and something that people want. You do have to advertise, but the power of word of mouth, like, you cannot beat that. And if you have a good word of mouth pipeline, you can be successful. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't advertise as much as everybody else, and I'm not doing TikTok videos and reels and stuff like that, but it's the word of mouth.
Good point, Kim. Good point. Kerry, you want to chime in on that at all?
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
We're focusing on reaching out to spread the word about our businesses. I definitely started in the social media space. And as we improved our product and our delivery process and our packaging, word of mouth it's very huge for us. It's big for us across the board. If I'm doing a corporate order, there's those employees that see those orders are inquiring about what the company is, our company is, and this is specifically speaking to Detroit Flavor Pack. I've actually had I did some orders for a local school in the Detroit area, and this is a college. And one of the employees was a part of the booster club for their child's football team. Well, that turned into doing a fundraiser for that football team, similar to a Little Caesars Pizza Kit type of situation. So, word of mouth, the branding that we put on our packaging, people see that and they ask about it. I have my packagers, my team members that they drop off packages to the post office, and they're constantly asked, well, what is that? Oh, that's great. Is there a website? And that's how I get a lot of orders. The people at the post office know who I am. They know who my team members are. It's pretty cool. I had to, over the holiday, I had to step in and help out with dropping some packages off to the post office. And when I got there with about 20 boxes, there were about 15 of my boxes already sitting there. So I felt pretty good. And the gentleman at the loading dock, he said, hey, I just ordered a package. He worked there at the post office. So it was great. So it's pretty much word of mouth, utilize social media, digital advertising if you have the budget for that, but definitely social media. There are ways to use social media where it's economically viable for a small business to not take a chunk out of your primary income or your profit as much until you grow into that position or to that place financially where you can actually spend money on that. It's a different world now with social media. You can actually start off a business with limited resources. Like Kim mentioned, Kim said she's a kind of a one-person shop, but if you reach out enough on social media, you can reach a nice number of individuals to maximize your production ability. And then if you can get yourself some backup, Kim, you should go ahead and get some more orders. That'd be great.
Awesome. So let's talk about finances. Were you able to, or how were you able, I should say, to financially start your business? Did you use your own funds? Did you take out small business loans? Did you get grants, or did you have investors? How did you financially get going?
I apologize for jumping in quick, but I've been waiting for this question since I saw that it was a possibility that we were going to ask. In my mind, I had a list of everything that I wanted to do to start the business, and I had a ridiculously long list of about 40 things, and I was at somewhere about 27, and I kept pushing back my launch because one of the things on the list was to get 8 to 15 investors at a small investment cost, but just that number of people so that I wouldn't have to go broke to start the business. And if something came up, then I wouldn't be able to handle it. So I didn't want to use all of my money to get started. And so I reached out to family and friends of individuals that I knew that this amount of money wouldn't break them. And I thought, all this influx of money was going to come in, but not everybody is going to see your vision. So of those 8 to 15 individuals that I was looking to invest, and half of them really wanted to be a partner, or some just didn't see the vision, I ended up getting 3. And I didn't think I was going to be able to start with those 3 investors. But, I had a good friend of mine, and we had a conversation. He said, "Bro, this sounds like you're ready to go. Like you can go ahead and do it with that. And you're just going to have to work harder and use more of the money of your own money that you expected, that you did not initially expect to use." So, I kind of took a leap and did that, and it worked out just fine, and the reason why I wanted to kind of respond to that was because you never know, you can still get it done limited resources. You just have to take your baby steps. And as you take your baby steps and move forward, then things will start to grow. You can add, because if you have the vision, you're going to be able to add to your vision, to your dream. And that's really what I did. I started off with limited packaging, knowledge, things, between then and now, it was like a caveman to a sophisticated Wall Street gentleman. Everything is so much better than it was when I started, but it was just, like you said, what did you mention, Kim? You said winging it. You got to figure it out. And sometimes it's going to take errors to get to the point where you're being successful. So as far as those investors and the money that I used, it ended up being more of my money than I wanted to be, but it worked out in the end. All of the investors that helped me get started were paid in full plus interest within a year.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds like J.L. Hudson. I think he did something similar, had the investors, and he paid them in full plus interest, which then built up credibility for his business. And it's always good to pay off your debts and make sure you're an honest person in your business, because people remember that stuff. And I know Chuck over there smiling, and you probably know this, especially dealing with some of those big giants that you're dealing with. But again, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let my panel talk. You guys take it over. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to jump in on that. Well, given, it's one thing that through undergrad, because my undergrad degree is in finance. I think my takeaway from that is it was always about other people's money. And what I found early on is 3 different ways to raise capital. It's equity, debt, or bootstrap finance, And so it was a combination of some personal funds. Now, when I first started the business, I was working at Merrill. At the same time, when I had access to industry outlook reports associated with what industry to go into, and not only that, but who was the best, what organization was the best. So it was about partnering. So I identified a strategic partner, and the strategic partner was Nextel, and they had a program to become an indirect channel sales partner. So essentially, that's what we were. And, those devices back then, if you recall, the push to talk.
I know.
Right. I mean, that
coming from Motorola, yeah.
Right. That IDIN technology, to me, state of the art.
State of the art, yeah.
Yep. And so they were selling like hotcakes. And so they wanted to go to market, got paid a lot of money up front and residual. So over time, the dollars were just so strong that even if we didn't sell in 2-3 months, we still were receiving monies from 2 years back, right? And then that's how I was able to effectively transition out and say, okay, I can do this. The safety net was there. I mean, I still had more work to do to continue to diversify the business and move it forward, but that's how I did it. It was some personal funds because when I was in corporate America. And then it was just bootstrap financing. That's how I was able to do it. So it was the business model that worked. I just figured that out.
Yeah. Thank you. Carol or Kim, if you want to chime in, you don't have to. What?
It was the personal funds for me. So it was all, it was all personal funds. At first, it was still I would say somewhere between a business and a hobby. So I was getting stuff. I was kind of building inventory. I was trying out new ideas, new products, to see what I was actually going to do. Once I really started getting orders, then what happened is whatever money I brought in for the orders went back out for supplies or investment in the business. So now I'm at the point, the business is doing well. I don't necessarily have to inject any of my money into it. It would just be if I really wanted to do some huge product launch or change direction. I mean, it pretty much at this point, it sustains itself. and whatever comes in, I generally just put it back into the business, which is really where I personally wanted to be with the business, because I never intended to quit my full-time job. So I never had the need necessarily to have the business grow such that I would just live off what was coming in from the business. But that's just my journey and my decision.
Yeah, same here. I started off with my own funds because it was a hobby. But I was amazed at how quickly a hobby started turning into a business and revenue started coming in. And when you start out with just a hobby, that stuff I was going to purchase anyway. Next thing you know, I'm selling items I had that I created and I'm making money off of it. I do a little bit differently. So when I do, get money for my orders, I put a certain amount back into the business, and then I keep a certain amount in my business account that I'm just kind of sitting there and allowing it to build. I am thinking of expanding, however, even though I am a one-woman show. I'm beginning to learn about drop shipping and other ways to free up my time, but still give my customers the products that, they want.
Very good. Very good. So the next step of all of this. So some of you work part-time. In the case of Chuck, this is your business. Do any of you that work part-time, do you see a time where your business will be so self-sufficient that you will leave your full-time job? And in the case of you, Chuck, what was that pivot point? I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but where you felt like, yeah, I'm at that point now where I can let, this Merrill Lynch kind of job go with all the degrees and everything that you have. And you're like, hey, I can go do this thing over here on my own. So where was that point for you, Chuck? And then for those that are still kind of doing a hybrid thing between your full-time and part-time with this, your own personal business, do you ever see yourself, taking at least this business or maybe a series of businesses and leaving your full-time job?
Yeah, Michelle, while I was at Merrill, I had the game plan. I mean, when you talk about numbers, numbers actually tell a story. And so it painted a picture. And that picture for me was to, clearly pay my bills, make sure I can pay my bills. But at the same time, I wanted to acquire knowledge while I was there, those relationships, and just understand how corporate America, how they do business. Mm-hmm. And so once I've acquired those relationships, as I stated a little earlier, the money was there I was running that business part-time. I had 2 people working for me. I actually was the first. I was fortunate. I was the first African-American Nextel dealer downtown Chicago.
Wow.
Yep, right on Wabash between Huron and Superior.
Okay.
So, those things were just selling like hotcakes. So I was blessed for that. And, we had to, it was more of a B2C model back then. So we had to carry inventory, just like everyone else actually had to carry inventory.
I do remember that. Wireless wearables, right?
That's right. So we wound up dissolving that in 2003 to make it a division of the B2B, B2G organization. Yeah. So, So the thing is, even back then, they started to transition to next day order fulfillment. And so what was great about that is now our cost of goods sold dropped dramatically. And now I can truly focus on going to market. Now I can move millions of dollars worth of inventory, without having to incur the costs of that equipment on my books. And, when you talk about technology, it's I call it planned obsolescence. You got to turn that technology because it's going to expire on you. And, you've got the needs of the market, in 2 months, they're like, that's some old stuff. And you lose money like that. So the whole just-in-time, inventory, next day fulfillment was huge for us. And so all those things made sense for me to say, okay, now we can focus on not just injecting the products and, and services into the marketplace for government entities, enterprise, as a tier 2 supplier. Now we could really focus on diversifying other service offerings around, just not just going to market with the product, but services like mobile device management, telecom expense management, and so notwithstanding the consultancy associated with telecom. So it was time, but clearly I wanted to make sure that I was safe, to jump. So some people, they really take the risk. They jump out the plane and no parachute. So I don't recommend that. Yeah. So that was my journey with that one.
Okay. Anyone else?
I actually love my job. I love my day job. So I went to college to do this. I love it. It allows me the opportunity to volunteer, to do other things during the day, to, reach out to youth. And I can, we work from home now. So there's flexibility there with fulfilling some orders here or there. So I kind of enjoy doing both, especially the fact that I said I don't have any kids at home anymore. So it occupies my time.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I will not be quitting my good day job that has health insurance. So that, like I said before, that was never my goal to quit my job. This was to have, something. And also, I think part of it is just to gain some business experience. A lot of times in school or even at work, you learn the practical piece of it, what's in the book, but to actually execute on that, a lot of those things, and to execute on it when it's yours, it's vastly different than if you're doing it at work, if you're reading it in a book. So I feel like that is valuable right there. I mean, to me, in my situation, but I intend to keep working full time and doing this part time as well.
All right. And that is nothing wrong with that at all.
I'm going to answer that question this way. I know back in 2008, 9, 10, where the economy was a little bit rough, and I was doing more consulting than I was sitting at a desk at a 9 to 5. I learned at that time that I needed to find something that was like my mortar between the bricks, something that I knew that would not go away, something that I had some control over, that could sustain me. The more time I put into my businesses, the more money that I make, the more profitable the business is. And when I sit at someone else's desk to do what I went to school for, what I've been trained for the last 20 plus years, I really do enjoy that. I really do. But I also, this is something that's a labor of love. It's something I love to do. It's something that can be there without 100% of my attention. And when my daughter graduated from Howard with a marketing degree, she jumped on board as a part of the company. My son just finished his associates in marketing and business, so he's managing a portion of the business. And it kind of mirrors when I met Dave Thomas years ago. He said he just opened up one restaurant because he wanted somewhere for his kids to work. This is something that my children can do when I'm not doing it. If there's ever a time where I can just, they know how to run the business. They've done enough with me at this point over the last 6 years that if I said, hey, I'm moving to Tahiti, here's Flavor Pack, they can run it. Mm-hmm. So that feels really good. I'm very proud of them for that. And they both have their own entrepreneurial efforts that they're doing on their end. And I try to help them out as much as I can. But besides that, it's really a gap that can help when the economic difficulties come. I'm in the marketing space. So when the economy goes down, they cut marketing and advertising. That's like the first thing. And I've gone through that over the years. And I say, I'm going to put myself in a position where when you cut me, I'm not cut. I'm still fine on my end. So, I still enjoy working with large companies and working on large projects and doing different things. I have a long history of large companies that I've done work for, and you read that in my bio earlier. So I'm not completely cutting that off, but I will be expanding Flavor Pack to several unique cities that I've already identified. So there's some international opportunities. So I'm going to try to take advantage of those. And like Chuck mentioned before, it's really the relationships you have and the people that you know, because I can have a conversation with someone, and next thing you know, I have a new business partner for a new effort, and that just grows the business. So I love doing both. If I could sit back on an island and get orders and just look at my phone like I do now, but it will pay for that trip, I'd love that.
All right. And that is just wonderful, Kerry, that you got your children involved with the business, passing that on, that I call it generational wealth. You've established something and pass it on. That's what the big shots out there, you think about, the Fords and the Rockefellers and all of those. That's what they did, right? I mean, why would we do anything differently? So I am so very happy to hear that your children have embraced this business and they're taking it on. Like you said, one day you can sit back on that island and they got that thing running like a well-oiled machine, and you've done your part. That's right. Awesome. So let me ask you about this. Since all of you are so very successful, I know you have seen others who have failed. And so looking from the inside as a successful business owner out to others as you see them with their business, what have you observed as the common pitfall of why some Black businesses fail?
I think one thing, I love being a business owner. I love being Black, and I love being a Black business owner. But my business is a business.
That's right.
You can't just, if that's your audience, then that's fine. If that's the audience Detroit, when I was growing up, was 80-90% Black. But my customer base is a huge mix of individuals that are affiliated with Detroit and Michigan in general. I have cousins after about a year and a half in the business that had no idea this was my business. I didn't really put my face on anything. I let the product speak for themselves and the desire for the product speak for themselves. But I think the important piece about as far as the Black experience for this is to let the younger people know that we are business owners. I've actually recently been asked to do a career day for my old high school, and I'm going to make sure I do that. I've done it in the past, but let those young people see that we're in place, in some place that they could aspire to be in. I'm not a rapper, and my jump shot's not very good. So when you just aspire to be in those two fields, you can feel like you failed and you're not successful. But I think every person sitting here, all five of us, are successful. So for the younger people to see us, I think that's the importance of the Black business. And if there is a part of your customer base that will support you just because you're Black, that's great. And I love that. And I love people that support my business. But first and foremost, be a business. Be a business and then represent yourself, because I'm going to be Black no matter what you do. But be a business first and foremost.
That's right, Kerry. That's right. Anybody want to add to that?
Amen to that. I agree. I echo the same exact thing you just stated, Kerry. I say that, Black businesses, a number of them, they fail to plan. So you plan to fail, And so with that, you still, with that, you should, to me, the first step always is fall in love with the business that you'd like to go into.
Mm-hmm.
You got to fall in love with it, Through that, next step is to understand your market and competitors. And that goes to, how you, in fact, if it's going to be a diverse group, whatever the case. Business is business. And to me, there should be no color in that. And next would be, in terms of what we should do as business owners, is become a subject matter expert in your space. And you let the world know. Mm-hmm. And as you're doing that, build relationships with buyers of wherever those customers are of your products and services. I think, I mean, and this is just another piece just to kind of throw out there is I really believe in advocacy. I mean, we as African American business owners, we do have to, and just like what you're doing, Kerry, you're going back to your high school, and we have to do that they got to see us. And from there, that's how they believe in wanting to become an entrepreneur and doing for yourself and what have you. I mean, that's key. And so it's just as you do that, whatever space you're in, it's interesting. But I don't care. I've created I don't want to say enemies, but as you become an advocate for people that look like you, some people take issue with that, but if we don't do it, who else will?
No one.
Yep. And you have to open that door, keep it open, and through that continue to fight. It's once you acquire opportunity, I don't care how big it is or how many opportunities, you got to fight to keep that door open. You just do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have to push to be not just a business person that focuses on excellence, but again, advocacy. Extremely important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Michelle, I would take just a slightly different perspective, just speaking as a smaller business owner. Number one, like a lot of things I see, pay your taxes. As a small business owner, there is a point where it goes from being just a hobby to you're generating revenue and you are going to make sure you need to be square with the IRS. So as you're getting started as a smaller business, it is perfectly fine for it to be a hobby for some period of time, but I would just suggest out of the gate, get the tax situation nailed down, your EIN, all of that.
That's good. Good point.
Because you do not want the IRS looking for you as a small business. The other thing is, and Charles mentioned this, you have to really like what you do. And you have to be able to keep that same like over the different fluctuations of how your product sells, what's going on in your life, all of that. So if you don't have something that you're really enjoying or passionate about, it's very easy to lose interest. And when you lose interest, a lot of the things surrounding the business can fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting your orders out on time. You're not doing your accounting and your finances, and you don't know where your money is coming from and where it goes in and out. You completely stop advertising, and your word of mouth dries up. So it's a combination of things that I probably would say that I've seen a lot of times for the smaller businesses where people are trying to take interests or hobbies and make it into a business. Those would be the things that I've seen and can contribute to the business not being successful.
Mm-hmm. Very good points, Kim.
Yeah. To reiterate what Kim said, I say have all of your paperwork together. Make sure you have everything filed properly. That's the biggest. And I think being in retail, my business, customer service is a big one. Conflict resolution is a big one. Knowing how to address your customers when they call you with a complaint. It's been so many times that I've been in a business and I try to approach them with something that, I felt they could do a little better or something, and I get complete attitude. You cannot run a business like that. People will walk in, walk back out, and they will never come back. I see a lot of that in our youth who, are new entrepreneurs. They have not learned conflict resolution. I think that's very big.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. That attitude is everything. I can tell you that just, being on the outside and working with different businesses and the way they respond to an issue. If you have an issue, if they're easy and quick to say, hey, let me see what I can do to help, as opposed to, they're making excuses on why it's your problem, or, why are you complaining about it? That just doesn't work anymore. I mean, especially in businesses where there are so many, like you were mentioning, there's a lot of other people that do what you do. To set yourself apart, you got to be on time. If, a client sends you an email, you got to respond to them. They don't care about the fact that you had to pick up your kid and your dog got sick, and they don't care about that. They want a resolution. They want to know a status update on their orders. They want to know when this is going to be installed. I don't care what it is. I mean, I understand those things are important, but I can tell you, just coming from a corporate environment, they couldn't care less about that. It really comes down to, you have to make your customer feel like they are the only customer you have, and that you are there to cater to their needs. Whether we know that's not the case, but they have to feel that. If they feel that you're widespread and you're doing this over here and this over there, and you're not really attending to their needs, they're not going to, especially, like I said, if there's competition out there, they don't have to deal with you. They can go somewhere else where they can get that true customer service. I don't think people really understand how important that is. I don't care if you are $1 more than the next guy. If you got a good attitude and you're on time and you're responsive, I'd rather use you than the person that's $1 cheaper and I can't even get an email reply from them. I mean, that's just how I am, because customer service means so much to me. And I just think about the old days when I used to work at Burger King, and I always took pride in what I did. I don't care where I was, whether I'm a corporate exec or I'm a Burger King cashier, you always have to put your best foot forward. And so thank you, Carol, for mentioning that, because for anyone who's listening to this as a small business, a Black-owned business, they already got a reputation about us that we don't, we ain't about our business. We kind of, doing this or that. You got to dispel that myth, because we aren't like that. You see right here on this panel, they are not like that. These are some of the best in the game here. So we just have to have more of that, show more representation of how we know how to do business and do it well. So thank you, panel, for that one. And I know we're over time, but boy, this is such a good discussion. So I got another question for you, if you don't mind staying around for it. But as a Black business, okay, we're going to get real with it. Have you been presented any challenges of breaking through that color barrier? I think, Kerry, you mentioned it, be a business first. But at the end of the day, is there any reservation out there because you are a Black business? And I asked this question. It's funny, early this morning, I read an article about a young lady who had provided a service or a product to a person of another ethnicity. And once that person found out that they were Black, they asked for their money back. They said, I don't deal with, your kind of folk. And so I need my money back, even if they were professional and any of that. And so I'm just asking, candidly, in your line of business, have you found any roadblocks because you are a Black business?
I've been in situations in my professional 9-to-5 life where I could tell a few stories, and you can kind of tell when someone raises an eyebrow once they see your face, or see you wearing a beard, or see a little bit, you're not what they expected. A lot of people, I know this is something I've dealt with all my life, but in email correspondence, some people think I'm a woman just because of my name, and when they meet me, they thought it was going to be kind of a certain relationship based on that. And that's not the case, because you can't, judge a person through email. They were just getting the job done. But as far as my entrepreneurial work, I have not experienced that in my entrepreneurial work, because the people that I deal with directly, my vendors and product partners, green is what they're looking for. So if I pay them, when I pay them on time, and I order again, They're like, "Hey, how you doing, Mr. Adams?" I'm Mr. Adams all up and down everywhere when I'm paying on time and everything else. So,
Yeah.
And the same thing for people that work with me or for me, my packagers and some of the people that do some community outreach work for Flavor Pack. As long as I'm taking care of them, like I say I am, hey, we're fine. And I don't, you can be yellow, green, orange. I don't care as long as we're working together and getting everything done. I'm personally fine with that. I haven't experienced that in my entrepreneur efforts, but definitely in corporate America, there are times when that has been a factor.
Absolutely. Anybody want to add to that?
Yes. Yeah. Given that I'm in that business to business to government space, it's interesting. It's very interesting. Yes, we focus on excellence, but it's clear as it relates to even the number of disparity studies. And sometimes it's a shame that you have to have a disparity study just to prove that there's challenges for African American business, but that's what's necessary. And so, because I know and I've lived through a number of situations, yes, I have a number of strong relationships within corporate America, within the telecom space. At the same time, if you allow them to treat you like you're a child, they will.
Yep.
And so you have to demand respect. You do have to get out there, and it's time to do it. You have to volunteer your time to be an advocate. There's a number of organizations that you can participate in, and locally, part of the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council. Participate on the FCC's Advisory Board for Diversity. I mean, there's major resources poured into figuring out how to even close the digital divide.
Mm-hmm.
And that not just impacting, communities that are been disenfranchised, what have you, but also people that look like us in terms of opportunities. Because let's just take a look at even the infrastructure bill. It's billions of dollars that are being pushed out, right? And they're going through the federal government, hitting the state, but then where are those dollars going to? And so from that to even during the pandemic, there's a lot of emergency contracts, a lot.
Yep.
I know who's playing out here, and I was like, who's getting the contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to fight for it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah. So when you do that, you're a disruptor, and
Absolutely.
people don't like that. But you have to do your part.
And I can imagine, Chuck, because I know that industry, telecom, quite well. And I know what it's made up of. And for you to have a very successful business in that space, my hat's off to you, because it ain't easy. It ain't easy at all. And, having that exposure of just being in a corporate environment, like Kerry said, he's seen it on the corporate side. So fortunately, he hasn't seen it on his business side. But surely, if you ever run into it, you already know what it looks like. You know how to handle it. And so it's just the reality of the world we live in, but it doesn't mean that you have to be defeated. Like you say, you got to get out there. You got to get your name out there. You got to be credible. You got to be on time. You have got to do the same things you did, that same energy you were given to show the people at corporate that you were worth that 10%, 5% raise that they were going to give you, that you are worthy to get this new contract or this big business deal. You got to show people that you're worth it. So I'm going to just pass it on to Kim and Carol to continue on.
I would say my experience is just slightly different because when I came up with my products, I honestly geared them for people who look like me, from the scents and some of the ingredients. Now, that's not to say that my customer base has not grown to include people who don't look like me, which is, in my mind, is a good thing. because you always want to be growing. You always want to be reaching new people. But as a start, I started with my people. I will be honest. And from there, I've just been blessed that it's grown beyond that.
That's great. And Carol?
I say same over this way. As light as I am, people are shocked that most of my products are geared towards Black women, Black men, Black children. And the main reason I went that way is because we see white every day. I'm not trying to be funny, but I wanted to start showing something that represented us, that kids could look at and say, hey, that cup over there, that looks like me on that cup. That card, I want them to be able to see us everywhere, just like, we've seen for years.
That's right. Make us normal. Normalize the culture, right?
Right.
Because it's not like a one-off or some special thing. We exist. We're good. We're professional. We are no different than any other person. So, hats off and blowing a whistle for you on that one. And you too, Kim. Well, I have just one more question, and I know there's a couple on the chat as well, but if there's one key thing that you believe that is that thing that makes a successful business, what would that be? And I'll start with you, Carol, on that one.
Be persistent. Don't take no for an answer. Don't think that you can't do it. I was just talking the other day. Everybody has something they're good at, and whatever it is you're good at, you can make money off of. So be persistent in what you want to do and go out there and make your money.
Great. Kim?
You have to pick something that you are passionate about for the long haul. And I kind of mentioned this earlier. We all have things we're interested in and kind of sort of good at or really good at. But I would say whatever you pick, that has to be, you have to have a passion about it that's going to sustain you over the ups and downs of the business. Because if you don't, that's when it's very easy to give up.
Good point. Kerry?
I'm kind of trying to think of the best way to answer that. I think that think big, be big, be confident. It goes along the same lines as when Carol said be persistent, but think big and be big, because you're providing something that enough people are interested in. When you're talking to vendors, don't talk small. Talk big, think big, be big, and that's the way you'll be perceived. And then that's where respect comes in. I've added products since we started 6 years ago, and some of those have come from customers inquiring, "Hey, do you offer this?" And I say, "Give me a week," and I contact heads of companies, and they're really excited and happy to be a part of what I'm doing on my end. And they contact me directly. I can send out an email, try to find out who's the mover or the shaker, the correct person to reach out to, and they call me back because I try to speak highly of my team. I try to speak highly of myself when I have the opportunity to do so. But also my correspondence and my materials, I try to keep them professional. If I'm going to send a flyer or a PDF or some type of graph or chart that represents the company, I want them to think Nike. I want them to think General Motors. I want them to think Frito-Lay when they see my materials. So, I still have goals of growing and doing better in that space, but that's what you have to think. I'm Nike, and I'm gonna present myself as that.
All right, just do it. And Chuck?
Yes, it starts off with everything that I'm doing with the business, it's been close to 20 years I've been in business. I'm not a double E. No, I'm not a computer science engineer, even though it's just at the time, Michigan State, they didn't have a computer science and engineering program. I don't think they still do. But I took a different route, finance and then law. So what I'm saying to you is this. It's a scripture. It's Isaiah 48:17. Again, Isaiah 48:17. It's, thus says the Lord, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. I'm the Lord your God who teaches you to profit, who leads you by the way you should go. And now it's been, I'm not Mr. Religious. I just know where my blessings are. And it's carried my family, carried me, notwithstanding. And thankful for that. So I'd say first and foremost, God need that. And what he wants you to do is focus on excellence while fighting the good fight of faith.
Awesome. Great responses to the questions I had. There are a few that came through on the chat. I'm going to quickly go through these. The first one is from Toya Lynn. She asked, and this is relative to when we were talking back to supply chain issues, and I think, Kim, you touched on that a bit. Has the shortage in supplies cut into anyone's profit margins?
I'll jump in real quickly. Yes, everything that I sell went up in the last quarter. Just about everything. Paper costs, all supplies, like packaging supplies, all of the products, all of the companies in the last 6 months, well, mostly the last quarter, went up. I have not turned around and put that to my customer base. It's something I am going to have to do. I'm just going to try to do it in a creative manner. But yes, since all the prices went up on every single thing that I sell, everything went up.
Wow.
And paper costs and everything else, shipping costs, everything went up in the last quarter, between the last quarter and the last 6 months.
Wow. Thank you.
Like Kerry said, shipping costs are the killer now. In some cases, it's not even the product. It is the shipping costs have like doubled on a lot of things, even for small little shipments that you're getting. I haven't passed on those costs to my customers, but like Kerry, I'm going to have to be a little bit creative because everything that I use, the price has gone up.
All right.
Yeah, because most of our overwhelming majority of our services are voice and data. Because of the pandemic, everyone has transitioned from an actual office to home. The demand for more bandwidth has increased, and therefore the proliferation of devices connected to the network of these telecom companies have increased, and we are part of the operations of it. I set out to ensure that we were part of the operation. So our business has been not just steady, actually increased just because of everyone going remote. And so, yeah, that's how it's impacted my respective business. But again, a lot had to do with just identifying a niche within the marketplace that would protect us from those types of situations regarding supply chain.
Okay. There's another question here. What are I think we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what are some of the ways you guys market your product or business to consumers and or businesses? I know some of you talked about social media being a good outlet for that. Obviously, word of mouth is another good outlet. Unless you have something to add to that, I'll pass on that one because I think you guys answered that one throughout the course of this discussion. The next one is, Are you guys members of your local Chamber of Commerce?
Yes.
I am not currently a member of my local Chamber of Commerce. I definitely hear what Chuck mentioned earlier, and I've actually made some notes on some organizations I'm going to be reaching out to in order to kind of be a part of my professional community as well as the industry itself. And I think that's going to help me out in business in the long run. And that's a part of that being creative. If I can find some other resources in order to help cut costs here, I may not need to raise costs in other ways.
The last comment here, and I think just throughout the course, we kind of touched on this as well, but if anybody wants to elaborate, feel free. Talk about failing your way to success. So I guess in the case of some of you that may have had several businesses or have several businesses, have you failed and, found your way and, stumbled, I guess, to get to the level of success that you're at today? No, because you're all successful. No, I'm just saying, I don't have nothing to say because everybody's successful. So no, we don't know what that means. No, just kidding.
I wouldn't necessarily say fail, but I would say that it takes time to find your niche, to find what it is that you really excel at. Like I have many products, but certain things that are my go-tos that sell really well, that so there were a lot of other things I tried in the beginning that just didn't work for my clients, that for my customer base. But as I learned who my customers and my clients were, I learned what products best suited them.
Awesome. Well, guys, I don't know if we have any last comments or anything, but this has been an absolutely fantastic panel. We have burned through 1 hour and a half. I don't know if it felt like that for you, but it didn't for me. And as always, with all of my shows, and this being the first one of the year, starting off already over time, but that's okay. That's what we do here because it's such a good conversation. And to get this group of people together, I tell you, folks that you're watching, this is a fantastic panel. I know each of one of these people personally, and I can't thank them enough for taking the time this evening to meet with us. So without further ado, and so everybody can get back to their evening and night, I'd like to give a special thanks to Kerry Adams II, Charles Chuck Harrell II, Carol Johnson, and Kim Brown. And of course, all of you out there in SMAC Nation, thank you so much for supporting us on all of our shows, as well as online through our Facebook group that we have. And if you're not a member of our Facebook community or our YouTube, please feel free to join our Facebook group, as well as like and subscribe to SMAC Productions on YouTube. Usually I give you an update on what we're going to talk about in the next month, but I don't know yet. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but there's so much out there. I've got so many people lined up and teed up, so we'll just have to wait and see. But until such time, I want to bid everyone a farewell for now and have a good evening, and you will see me next month. Good night.
Good night.